All right, everyone. Today we have with us none other than the good musicians, phenomenal musicians from the band, the Bodhisattwa Trio. I wouldn't take any more time and would hand over to them. They would like to say? Please, guys, go ahead.
Yeah, we're very happy to be here. It's a great initiative that you have taken, and such things need to be part of this whole music scenario. So I think it's a very important initiative, and but music to thakbei, and with music also, these things, these platforms and things like this, which support music, which actually help us to understand what we are doing, why we are doing, and why we are part of a whole system. So these things are very important as a support system, which mainstream music has, but underground music in this country at least doesn't have much of a support system.
Anything Shonaida want to add?
Nothing much. He has already said. So yeah, same here. Actually, I'm excited too. And yeah, I think once we start talking about it, I'll add up more. So yeah.
Yep. Pretty interesting. So I was just listening to a song the good people have released just very recently, like 4 months back. It's called the Lunar Month, and it's some freaking track. I mean, it's beautiful. It's like such amalgamation of different soundscapes of different kinds. Would you take us through the journey of creating that, and even actually how did you come up with writing that sort of music?
Okay, there are a lot of perspectives involved in this whole process. So I would personally want to hear Shonai's perspective on this first.
Well, so to do that, actually, you have to listen to the entire story where the track would be placed. So it's entirely one journey, and one of the part of the journey is this track. Okay, so um, basically we try to create an ambience through sounds and the different by synthesizing it and picking it and everything. The process actually went pretty much mm, like normally what happens. Bodhi writes the tune, and we work on the harmony and the arrangement. Normally, it happens like that. Uh, uh, it had got the same thing actually. It happened same here. So we sat down with the harmony, and we were stuck in a point where uh, he came up with some ideas, and that clicked, and we carried on from there. So it's a collaborative work, as you can see, as you know, it's a trio. So all three are like equally important. But it's Bodhi actually the story is important more than the uh, story of how like the making story and all. I mean, more than that, I think the story of this piece is more important. So Bodhi, I think you should know start where the track would be and what is the uh, story behind this tune.
Yes, absolutely. So this is going to be part of this album that we are doing, and we'll talk about it, a little later about the whole process. But this is going to be track 3 in our upcoming album. But this version that you have heard, this is a kind of, I can say, it's a like a trailer or a preview, that kind of a thing. So that's not the whole, concept. The whole concept is there'll be a lot of things added to exactly what you're hearing. So the story of the crux of the matter is, I will discuss the album later, but the story of Lunar Month is that we are stuck on the orbit of the moon. Like, we are astronauts, me, Shonai, and Premjit. We are astronauts, and we have left Earth after its destruction, and we are stuck in the orbit of the moon for a period of or 1 lunar month, or something like 29 and a half Earth days. And we are thinking back about what the Earth was, what our lives was, what humanity was. So it's a sense of a very brooding, melancholy, loneliness. That's the theme of the conceptual theme of this song is loneliness. So that's what we are trying to loneliness and contemplation. So that is the thematic content. So if you see the video, which was done and edited by our good friend Shan, so it kind of depicts images of Earth. So the idea is
Uh,
that all these images are satellite feeds, which was recorded. Now there's nothing. There's no Earth. There's no nothing. So we are intercepting this satellite feed.
okay. Mm.
So that's the actual concept of the whole thing. And musically speaking, because there are a lot of genres and a lot of styles involved in this in our music. Actually, I would say in Lunar Month, the particular emphasis was on kind of a sensibility between, say, psychedelic rock and a jazz ballad. So we kind of try to bridge this. So that's why you will see that it is a very piano-heavy composition. The whole thing is based on the piano. The guitar is just playing, like Shonai mentioned, that I come up with the tunes, which is not true. What is true is that I come up with the theme, the skeleton, and I explain the story to the band, and then the three of us kind of build around musical ideas, which kind of make it into one intrinsic composition. So that's the story of Lunar Month, and I hope that we have been able to bring out that emotion. And one very important aspect of this composition and the new sound, the new album that we are going to record is that what we can play and what we can do with our instruments and how good we are. That is immaterial. That is absolutely uh, irrelevant. So it is absolutely irrelevant. What is relevant right now is the thematic content, the thought behind the composition, and the way the music is shaping up in coherence with the thought. So that's the philosophy we believe in right now. That's the path we are treading right now. That it's not important about who can play what, how good we are okay, so-called amazing musicians. That's not the concept. The concept is over here is the true translation of thought to music and art, basically. To sum it
Art.
up in one word, whether it's art or not. So we are trying to create art without thinking of anything else.
Yep. So this is a relevant thing I heard. I was watching a full concert, and I love this trio. And I guess you guys also do, like everyone does. The Aristocrats. They are
Oh
just
yeah, of course, of course, of course.
phenomenal musicians. So I was, watching an interview of Guthrie, and he was saying, like we are, they're like people seeing trio and duo and all these as musical groups or as bands. And Guthrie was saying we are not a band, we are a chemistry first and foremost. I like that word a lot because there's just a lot of goes on, thinking goes on behind that word. And the second, he said that it just doesn't work all the time that you'll have the best, you'll bring the best drummer in the band, you'll bring the best vocalist in the band, you'll get the best 500 BPM shredder guitarist in your band, and you will get the best, violinist and bass player in your band, and you'll make a huge stuff. It's like he's saying this kind of a he was using these kind of words, which I thought it's like, very important and intriguing in some context. That was it's what happens between the three of us, the chemistry between us. How are we able to connect? Like we can play a million notes a second, but to organize those million notes a second into a form of which you just said art, it's a challenge. It's a huge challenge. I have to like sit for hours and hours and hours and have to think, okay, no, this goes, okay, no, this doesn't go. So it kind of relates to all of the stuff like I'm recording. That's beautiful. We have Premjit Dutta with us, and of course, Shonai was there. Anything, Premjit, that would like to add?
Uh, Hello.
Hello.
Sorry for being late.
Yep.
I need to know, is this a good
As
vision?
usual.
Okay. It doesn't matter,
Well,
right?
well,
Doesn't
you
matter
are not.
exactly.
Well, you are not important. That symbol is important.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I just came in a little late, but before I add, I
That's
need to.
nothing new, I think. That's normal and we are
Yeah,
expected.
I always come behind the beat. That's the best part of the groove. But anyway, let me know what is the question. First, let me know what's the question. What am I going to add to?
Yep. So, if Bodhida would like to say, what would you say? Like, if you continue this form of, this is this term called trio.
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking to Bodhida regarding this, that the aristocrats had this saying. Not only aristocrats, a lot of trios and duos I see who do experimental stuff, who do music which is not really, which doesn't really come to our eardrums every day. We don't get to hear all of that, right? So all of those abstract arts are really grouped into a term called maybe trio, duos, a band, and everything. But moreover, we were talking about this, discussing about this term called chemistry between the musicians. What happens? Maybe you're in a studio, that's happening. Maybe you're in a live gig, that's happening. So we're just building upon this. That what is this chemistry that holds the Bodhisattva Trio together? And also, we were discussing about the song which you guys just released, which I was just hearing this like 10 minutes before, the Lunar Month.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you just mentioned the studio or the live situation, which is obvious, but I think the chemistry lies everywhere else. So that's what shows. That's what is the trio, and I think we are musicians and we are expressing what we are. So if we don't have that chemistry in life per se, in our daily lives, in what we do, in how Bodhi's mom is and how my son is, if they don't know about this, then I don't think that reflects in the music that we do together. So I think when we essentially talk about chemistry in whatever group of artists, let's say, then I think we are talking about life, because I always believe that whoever, whatever form the art is, it is always reflecting life. So art is a part of life. Life is not a part of art. So I would say like the chemistry is basically about the life that we. It could be like we are talking after 7 days or 10 days or maybe a month or maybe every other hour, but there is this chemistry which connects us together, and that reflects in whatever we do. And I think that is what reflects in any artist whoever is doing collaborative work together.
Anything Shonai would like to add to this beautiful line?
Well, so yeah, it's like it's just my perspective. I wouldn't call this as an like abstract music as you mentioned, but I would rather mention it like an impressionism. It's a There's a story behind it, and we're trying to portray that story. So yeah, that's my take basically uh, for this kind of music, this kind of track. So in the entire concept actually. So yeah.
Oh, pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think abstract. I mean, if I may just add to what you just said, I also had a little, different thought regarding when you said abstract. So, let's try and define what is abstract. What do you think is abstract? Let's hear from Chopin.
Hmm. So to me, the word abstract, I guess it doesn't have any meaning as I look
Exactly.
at it, because it's like things which you can't give a meaning to, we call it abstract. Like
Yeah, and what are the things that you can't give a meaning to?
maybe, for example, let's take a really generic example. For example, let's take a leaf. Like you walk every day in your nearby garden or area or whatever you go. You
Yeah,
go for evening walk. One day, for example, let's take a situation like you just walked 365 days a year,
right.
evening walked over there, and you just saw the same leaves, nothing new. Yeah, no attention has gone. There's like become a blind spot.
Right.
But suddenly you saw a leaf that you have never seen before, and our brain tends to act like, okay, no, I have to pay attention to that leaf only. All the other things are like, yes, fine. So in
Okay.
that case, what we can call as the state of our vision, looking into that piece of leaf, it's called as an abstract. Like this is an abstract shape. I'm looking for the first time. Maybe.
Yeah, so if we have to sum it up, then we can basically say that something which is uncommon is abstract. Does that make sense?
Yep, yep, yep.
Something, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
this is
So I
very
mean,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
because I feel like whatever we call I mean, as you said, like the leaf which was not there 364 days, and suddenly on the 365th day or whichever day we found it, we found it uncommon. So, and at the same time, maybe that leaf is common to someone else who is walking, and he doesn't call it abstract because he's watching it every day,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Yep.
So I think abstract, this word abstract has got a bigger meaning in the sense that it is always yeah, a respective word.
It's a
It certainly
perspective
depends.
stuff.
Yeah, it is always yeah, it's obviously perspective. So it always depends on what exactly is common to you and what is not, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
so I mean for me, Bodhisattva Trio is not abstract because this is my line of thought, this is our line of thought. I mean,
Oh,
people
I get
might
it.
call it abstract, So, I mean, if you say that the way we live is abstract, then I might agree, because we are living for music, and we know that we are trying to do something which is really difficult, and we know this is not the logical, common way of doing things in this world. So
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, the life will, and as I said, like, I always look at art as an expression of life. So again, I'm trying to connect that to what we were just speaking about. I mean, I think it is again the life that we are leading, which is leading to this kind of music or art form. And people, if they have to, then they should come and tell us that, okay, what the path that you've chosen in your life is abstract, and that's the reason you're coming up with something like that. I mean,
Exactly. So
uh,
that kind of contradicts. Like in their perspective, the audience's perspective, they are listening to what we are discussing right now as abstract music. But for you,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's common. It's just another way of living.
No, the simple, another a very basic thing is that, what you define as abstract. Actually, in totality, abstraction is the most obvious thing that has happened to mankind. If you talk about
absolutely.
basic things like, biology, chemistry, physics, all kinds of math, algebra, calculus, you are writing a plus b whole square is equal to a square plus 2ab plus b square. Now that doesn't make sense in the real world, does it? But it does. That equation is applicable to every aspect of our lives. How many liters concentration of a liquid to calories burnt and everything? These are numbers. So these are very abstract things. You can't see them, but they are a part of
True.
our lives. So abstraction in that way is a beautiful word. I love that word.
Mhm.
But it is very much a part of our lives, and it is a part of who which defines existence. It's everywhere.
Exactly. So
It's
I
everywhere.
would, yeah. So
You
just to
look at
add to that, yeah.
you look
Sorry,
at this
carry on.
this box of chewing gum. There are a lot of parameters mentioned. Now, who cares about those parameters? Do you know what they are? Nobody knows.
We
But
want the chewing gum.
whoever, yeah, but whoever has made this chewing gum is aware of everything. So these are very tangible things, even though it might look very abstract to us, as
Small
in,
details. Yep.
Exactly.
yeah, exactly, what chemical this is, how much percentage it is. So it's a part of our life. So that's why, if anybody says that, oh, this music is too abstract for me and I can't understand it, then it's your bad, not ours.
No,
You
I
know
mean,
what? I think, yeah, sorry.
yeah.
That was good.
Carry on, Shunai. Carry on,
So
Shunai.
actually, what, yeah, very simply, like what human beings have institutionalized, like say, it has been going on. Like say, church never like acknowledged that there's something called blue note, but later it's
Exactly.
reflected on the gospel music because we are not used to, and we think that these are the notes have to be there. That blue note not supposed to be there. This all human made. I'll share a story with you. Like I shared with like Bodhi and thing also. So I was studying music and I came up to a composer called Alias Gaba, and he was working on like tuning basically different tuning sort of like he used to tune differently. Um, there was math there, but differently than what we are used to listening. Like so, A has to be 440. Who decided that? We decided that, right? But if you play a dotada, it's not tuned like that. So what is
Yep.
which one is abstract? Look now. So after listening out for 3 minutes, or maybe it was horrible, like the piano sonata, detuned piano sonata. Then my phone started ringing, and I thought, why my phone is ringing, becoming detuned? Actually, that's tuned in 440, but I got acclimatized. My brain got acclimatized to the detuned piano. So, so we made it into that institution. Sorry, my thing is so we say that this is has to be this has to be, but nature is not like that. You know,
Exactly,
if you
exactly.
like, yeah. So can you predict that? Okay, the second wave of a like an ocean or something has to be like should be smaller than the previous one. Can you predict? No,
No, no.
we can do that.
Even I guess the nature can't predict
So
because
that's
it
the
just
nature.
happens. It's a cycle, random cycle.
Yeah, of course. So that abstract word actually doesn't exist.
Exactly. It doesn't have a
Yeah.
definition,
Right.
but the
Right.
word is
Yeah. So
invented.
so
Yeah,
we made it like something like system, and now whatever is like you know
you
anyway.
know
Whatever
what?
doesn't seem to fall in our areas of commonness, we call it abstract. It depends on human
Exactly.
beings, though.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that I think would raise the question of why is this kind of music abstract at
Yep.
this century?
Yep.
Why are we making this kind of music, and why are we probably the only, or maybe just a couple of bands making this kind of music at this century? And why not some more bands? I mean, if you look at genres which has been named later on, like, okay, this is rock, or this is metal, or this is gospel, or this is, I mean, we all know about history where people in early 60s were just trying to play the blues, but just because their life was not like the bluesmen, this they started expressing themselves in a different way. And maybe later on, 10 years down the line, after a couple of decades, people could really kind of distinguish, okay, this is blues and this is also blues, but this is not really the blues that we know. Let's call it rock. So, but
Uh,
at that point, I mean, I think that's how. I mean, we right now we have a history of 100 years or more to look back. But when the history was building itself, it was never like that. It was very seamless. I mean, we are all influenced by what we all have been listening to,
yeah.
and 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 that influences are all coming through. Either we like it or not, either we choose it or not, it is always there. Those influences will work. We might say that we are a jazz fusion band or avant garde, blah blah blah, this, but we are Indians, we are all bongs, and we have been brought up through, through all this Indian music, and be it commercial, non-commercial, but whatever it is, but that is all there in our subconscious. And I think it works in some way or the other, and it tweaks something somewhere which makes our expression a unique expression, and I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, that's how it is. I mean, I would like to look at Deep Purple. I would like to look back at AC/DC. I would like to look back at Jimi Hendrix and call them blues band. They are essentially a blues band. I mean,
Yeah.
uh,
They're just blues.
They have certain,
It's a blues. Yeah.
yeah, they have just added
they are just
distortion to some blues
expressing.
licks.
They are just expressing. Yeah, I mean, and I think they're just blues players. They're just blues band post the World War, and that's what changed the way they were playing the blues, I guess. I mean, that's how I would like to look at it.
Probably they had, it's like us. We were told when we were kids now that if you come in contact with technology, you'll be spoiled from the very childhood. This is a common dialogue we have had. So Led Zeppelin and all of those bands probably got to technology a bit early. That's why they've learned distortion and added to their blues licks, I guess. Okay, so there was no neural DSP back in time, but still there was some. In the studio they would do stuff and they would figure out, okay, no, this is a different sound. We can do this and then, and that's all. I guess again, it comes to the word perspective, because like there, genres have subgenres. Those subgenres also have subgenres. Like so
Of course,
much boundaries and so much intrications that we forgot what is art, what is music,
true.
right? Like blues has 5,000 different genres under itself, right? Country music has another set of subgenres under that. Metal has, I don't know, maybe a million genres under that, right? So I guess at a certain level, if we watch, like if you guys already like have experienced all of these, like at a certain perspective, if you watch music in a certain way or whatever genre it is we are doing, it's common to us. But again, as Bodhisattva Ghosh said, If you think our music is abstract, it's your bad. So I really like that dialogue, man. um, then that brings me to the second interesting question. Actually, we are all brought up like let's be brutally honest. India is a country where it's a country of arts and culture. From a very long while, it has been. Now it's kind of diminishing, but still there are hints of all of that. We have some legendary musicians from here. Like left leave India, we have legendary musicians from Calcutta itself, the city of joy. I would really like to know all of yours, like in very short and explanatory ways. Like I was wondering for this question for a long time. Uh, how did you guys came in contact with music, and at what age? Or like all of you were born into musical families, like your parents were artists, or how did that contact happen? Like anyone, if you would like to begin.
Okay, let's start with Shonai.
Sunaida is the first one.
It's the easiest one.
So basically, yeah, it was in my family, and it is in my family. My uncle used to play tabla and drums, and my dad used to play piano accordion then. Um, so yeah, I can't remember when I started playing tabla, but I continued till 96, I think, 96, 97 around, and then I switched to keyboard, piano. So yeah, that that's how my journey was.
When did you got into keys and all of this? Like do you remember you going to like you're self-taught, or you just went to any music school to study and hone the craft?
No, no, there was my uncle who taught me tabla, and my dad. So my yeah, the first lesson I still remember that was very interesting. There was no information. Like he just said, "Okay, this is the song," and try to play that on the keyboard. I said, "How?" I said, You try, figure out the notes, so find out the notes. You can sing it." So he just tried, so I figured out the notes. It was, I think, one of those sound of music tracks. I think. I can't remember the name, but that was the very beginning. And then I gradually developed like the theory knowledge and everything like that. And of course, there are other teachers as well. My so there were several other teachers who helped me, and due to them I came to know so much. So
So
that's what happened.
what were your
Also,
like
work
go-to
experience,
bands?
like sometimes. Sorry.
What were your like go-to bands that you listen? Like what kind of music interested you a lot? Like this is the thing, like I love like the soundscape and all that.
Yeah, so initially I'm very much influenced with 80s music, like pop and funk and Motown, and yeah, and I love folk, Indian folk, of course.
Yeah.
I love Indian folk. So whatever I like grew up listening, that's my like it's still stuck with me actually. Like, so yeah, that's
Wow, wow, pretty interesting. Where who is the next? Of course, Premjit Dutta. Bodhisattva now will point out everyone, and he will be the last.
Yeah, but not in this case. Modi, go on.
Okay, fine. So it's
Now he lost. See, now he lost.
no problem. No, the thing is that I don't know. It's a very tricky question. I get asked this all the time. I don't even have a concrete answer to this. First of all, is that I was born
no
into a
wonder why
very,
you're pushing for us to go on first and second.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Very basic Bengali family. That's where I belong. So, but my father used to listen to a lot of Hindustani classical. So I used to, and my mom was a hippie from Jadavpur
Wow,
University. So she listened to Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, Beatles, Simon and Garfunkel, and all of that. So
wow.
ever since I started, observing things, like my brain was starting to develop, age of 6 months or whatever. I was bombarded with Nikhil Banerjee and Ali Akbar, and not just Ali Akbar Khan, but Alauddin Khan on one side, and Beatles and all of that on the
So
other side.
huge
So I kind
stuff
of,
just coming around.
yeah. So I was growing up on all that, and I always, thanks to my parents, I always had a taste for quote unquote good music.
Yep, yep.
And so I couldn't relate to any of my friends in school who were listening to Bollywood and all that thing. Even Bangla, Adhanik and all that. I was an alien in class all throughout my school life.
You were
What
an
happened?
abstract person.
Yeah, so I was alien because nobody listened to classical music. obviously. The guys who were like, quote unquote traditional bongs were all Rabindra Sangeet trained, and I had no idea about Rabindra Sangeet.
Absolutely
I
struck.
mean, I read Rabindranath, obviously, but I never liked his, whatever was being done to
Mhm.
Rabindra Sangeet. So that's about it. I was pretty much an alien until I met this guy called Neil. I have to talk about this person. He's my childhood friend. He's right now in Cambridge, and he's a British citizen. So his father came for some export business for 4 or 5 years in Calcutta, and he was staying right next door to me. And he brought all of this music. This was in the 90s.
Okay,
And
wow.
he brought all of these laser discs and
Wow.
CDs and all of that. But with all of these bands which I've never heard of before, Smashing Pumpkins, Nirvana, Pearl Jam,
Wow.
all
Wow.
REM, Oasis, and I
Oasis,
listened to
yep.
that, and yeah, and I being a '90s kid, who happened to like rock music or whatever, I got hooked on that.
Mm.
I completely it became kind of what I can say. I think it's the most comfortable form of music for me to relate to is '90s British and American rock. Whatever
Yep.
Pearl Jam, from starting from Pearl Jam to that whole thing, Rage Against the Machine, Audio Slave, you name it.
Yep. Yep.
Oasis, Radiohead, even Coldplay. So that kind of music, and I wanted to be a guitar player now. And I joined this another person who used to play in a cover band back then called Warm Dust, Aniruddha Mukherjee. He used to
One
play
does.
guitar, and he used to play all of this classic rock kind of thing. So I went to him, and he said that what nonsense you're listening to, all this Smashing Pumpkins and Nirvana and all that. They can't even play. Listen to Led Zeppelin, yeah. Listen to Johnny Winter and all that. So, and when I listened to that, when I heard The Wall, Pink Floyd, I heard the second solo of Comfortably Numb in class 11. Then I decided that, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to study science and all of that. I'm not going to do anything. That's who I want to be. So that's how it all
That's the
kind of changed.
solo. That's the solo
That
that
solo
lit the
changed my life.
fire. Yep.
Yeah, that's the solo that changed my life. And obviously after that, so Amitato happened and
Yep. Yep.
evolution
I know.
happened.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, that's it. That's my story.
Interesting. So from a very childhood, early childhood, you were bombarded with what we call as good music, really good music
Yeah.
around.
I was very fortunate enough in that. I still have those LPs stacked up somewhere. I don't
Yeah,
have a record
those
player.
are those are like a vintage
Yeah.
memory right now. Yeah,
Yeah. So that's there already. So that's it. Premjit, please do the honors.
please.
Yeah, so basically, for me, I was brought up in Bhutan. My father used to work there. He has worked there for 32 years. I've spent 16 years of my life in Bhutan, in my early childhood. So I started playing tabla when I was like really young. I remember my mom used to tell me that, whenever there was some song going on, I would just grab anything that is next to me or try to, just bang on.
Groove around.
Yeah, just try to keep the beat or something. And he also mentioned that in a very early age, if there was someone who was clapping on the wrong time, or if there's someone who's playing a wrong groove, I would just go and hold his hand and ask him to stop.
Like shut up.
Yeah,
बहुत
yeah.
हुआ.
That this is not in the correct. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm talking about when I was 4 or something like that, and that's when my parents thought that maybe I have a sense of time, and then I should start learning tabla, being a bomb. Yeah, so that's how I started. I started playing the tabla, and I ended up playing tabla for about 14 years. I did all the training, all the Bisharod, and whatever it takes. Like did everything that was required. And after that, I came to Kolkata. So I mean, I came to Kolkata from Bhutan, and I was still like playing in my college band. And at that point, since I knew how to play the tabla. People asked me to just play the percussions. And at that point, the congas, which I didn't know was called the conga, because back then I started playing the triple. Can you hear me? It
Yeah, it's
says that.
stuck sometimes. Now it's fine.
Yeah. Is it okay now? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So and then someone told me that if you really want to pursue playing percussion seriously, then you should try and get in touch with this person called Kochuda Premjit Dutta. So I went there. I started learning Latin percussions, and back then I was still just playing timbales, or mostly hand percussions, and only the other stick percussion that I was playing was timbales. So I was playing congas, bongos, timbales, everything like all Latin percussions. And then I had this band back then in college, and the drummer left suddenly. And there was this gig coming up, and then we were all looking for a drummer, and we could not
And
find
then they
someone
found
suitable.
you.
And then they said, "Why you are playing the percussions? You anyway know the arrangement. Why don't you try your hands on the drums?" So I said, "Okay, let's try it." And I started playing drums, and that's how I started playing drums. And eventually, I went on to learn drums at the Kolkata School of Music. I did my Trinity grades and whatever, and at the same time, I was also learning from Kochuda, and I was learning drums also from him at some point. And then yeah, that's how it is. I ended up, being around Kochuda for at least 10 years
Oh,
and actively learning from him. And I was also playing in his band, Los Amigos. And yeah,
wow, wow. Three inspiring stories. Pretty interesting. So here comes the actual thing. This question I asked this to probably every band I had in this conversation, and I would also won't hesitate to ask this: that how did the Bodhisattva Trio form? Like, how did you guys meet up? Like, were you friends, or how did it entirely form? Whose brainchild was this?
Actually, this is a very interesting question. So, Premjit, if you can answer, it will be great if you can.
yeah. So I mean, this goes back to, I think, I mean, I know Bodhi from around 2005. I had this band called Camouflage, which was like a Britpop band, and Bodhi
Camouflage, yeah.
had and Bodhi had this band called Crystal Glass, and we were contemporary, but we were not playing together. And suddenly Bodhi called me that there was this. I think this was around 2008 9. I mean, we knew each other since 2005 onwards. Around 2009 10. Was that gig on 2010 or 11? Bodhi?
11
Uh,
November.
yeah,
Jimi Hendrix's
Jimi
birthday.
Hendrix tribute. Yeah, it was a Jimi Hendrix tribute night, and Bodhi called me saying that there's this gig which I have to do. Do you want to play drums? I said, yeah, why not? Let's do. And before that, I think I and Bodhi had discussed that let's do some blues thing together. We had always thought of making a blues band together, playing jamming on blues together, things like that.
Okay, so as Jeet mentioned that the Hendrix tribute gig was okay. The interesting thing is that the curator of this gig wanted to say, "Why don't you do something? You were so much into Jimi Hendrix and all that. Please curate this gig and call it Bodhi and Friends." So I was like, "No, yeah, Bodhi and Friends sounds so cheesy, you know." So I was like, "Okay, we'll call it. It's a three-piece band, so we'll call it the Bodhisattva Trio." And that's how it started. So after that, we started. We didn't know, but because me and Premjit, we discussed after the gig that okay, this is great. We have a great chemistry. So why don't we try writing our own tunes instead? I have some ideas. I'll call you. He said, yeah, sure. So I didn't know what kind of a sound it was. I was very confused, as a composer. I was playing with a lot of other artists, and I started traveling internationally also, 2009. So I met a lot of musicians, saw a lot of great gigs outside of India, in the West, Europe, America, whatever. And I got the kind of the bigger picture of what music can be, what is the bigger spectrum. Not possible to understand that or feel that sitting in Gokul Park or anywhere here. It's not possible to understand the spectrum. So I was confused. I was looking for a sound, and the beauty of the thing is what I am really grateful for is that uh, both of us, me and Premjit, we were very open to experimenting with ideas. We didn't care about what genre we are playing as long as the music sounded legitimate,
Uh,
sounded interesting, and whether we are growing together and as individuals or not. Or whether are we learning something from it? Even when we are playing our own songs, is it a learning experience? Is it a part of a curve? So that kind of happened. So that's how the band started. And then, Rohit Mukherjee from the Ganesh Talkies, he had other priorities, other commitments, so he left. So our good friend Bijit Bhattacharya, Tatari, he
Mhm.
joined the band. He was there from 2013 to 2017,
Wow,
and he
4
did
years.
two international tours with us.
Wow.
Actually, four international tours, four, not two, and quite a few gigs are in India. So after that, I'll just be very brief because I'm coming to Sonai's perspective right now. Is that we decided that when Tata left the band because he wanted to shift to Bombay and wanted to pursue commercial music and he wanted to be like a sessions player in the Bombay music scene.
Mm.
So that's why he had to go, no problem. So me and Premjit, we decided, okay, what do we do? Do we take another bass player? Or do we try something different? Because frankly speaking, we were like, Vijit and Rohit, they were not, both of them were not really much of soloists, much of leading instruments. So me and Premjit decided to be, what do we do? Because I'm tired of playing guitar solos. He's tired of playing drum solos. So we need some kind of interesting perspective that we can add. And so, Shonai being a long time friend of ours, I know him from God knows when. And Premjit and Shonai knows each other from childhood.
Oh,
Yeah, we
okay.
had the first band together. We had the first band
Yeah, so
together.
it's a they have a long history. So I suggested to Premjit that why don't you ask Shonai? Because he's got a solid jazz background as a pianist, and he's open to ideas. He's open to other kinds of music, and he has a great left hand, which means that we take one musician who does the job of two. So we asked him to. So I have a Ultron of a
Just
synth,
exploitation.
which so
This
yeah,
word
exactly.
is
So
called
I asked him.
exploitation.
Yeah, of course it is. So
Shonai,
I asked him.
Shonaida is
Yeah,
angry.
of course he is. He has to be angry. So I told him, okay, you play keys and synthesizers and piano, but you also play bass.
What
So he
was his
said,
reaction?
his reaction was, well,
Fuck
I don't know
off.
what you're talking about. What kind of music is this? I don't know what's on it. So we sat down with him, did a couple of rehearsals, and said that the sound is what you want the sound. It's very simple.
Full
The
liberty.
sound is what you want. If you are not comfortable, then there's no sound. So and this happened in early 2018, and now we are 4 years old. This lineup, and personally speaking, I'm really happy. I think this is the sound of the band. We
Yeah,
have
yeah.
finally
So we
reached
found
the
the
point
sweet
where we can
spot.
say exactly. So I think touchwood or whatever. I think we have finally cracked what we can truly call a trio. So now over to you, Shonai. What do you think?
Also it was easy to connect with Shonai because I and Shonai, we have been like we grew as as human beings, as musicians together. We had
Yeah,
the first band together, so it was a very easy connection. Like from day one, I mean I already knew Shonai, and Shonai has already played. We have traveled so much together as well, so it was easy for us. But I mean, just to add to what Bodhi said earlier, that when we decided, like after the first Jimi Hendrix gig, when we decided to have this band, and he said that he had some ideas, and maybe we can jam, and we so in the initial days when we started making music, we both of us knew that this is abstract, and this is not going to run our bread and butter. So, and this is something which I would like to mention, is something which I mean I think was nice, because we all knew that we don't want to compromise on the art in this project. We will do our jobs, we will do our sessions, we will do everything else to survive, but this is going to be us. This is going to be what we want it to be, and I think we managed to do that, and
Yep.
that's the reason we are called abstract, maybe. But anyway,
That word, oh my god.
yeah. So
Beautiful,
let's
man.
come to
Beautiful. Hmm.
let's come to Shonai's perspective on what she
Yep,
thinks.
yep, sure.
You know,
Yeah, it was a shock of my life, but anyway, I had to cope up with the situation. So basically, yeah. So when they asked me to join the band, I said fine. And I heard it. I said, man, I don't think
did it right with the
it's a
video suddenly.
possible.
So fucking excited about it now.
okay, please continue. Please
So
continue.
so so yeah. So I had a great
Look at the
difficulty
background. Look at
with
the
this word.
background. What is there? Take that away.
What is away? What is to take away?
Premjit, Premjit, that's constantly figuring out things to say.
আরে আরে এবার বাংলায় কথা বলতে হবে, ইংরেজিতে আর হচ্ছে না। প্লিজ
Oh,
Go on, go on.
না শোনাই, প্লিজ কন্টিনিউ।
So it took me, I think, a little more than a year for me to actually get the fun of the sound and this chemistry. I mean, to understand the chemistry and actually to have fun. To build up this thing. It took me a little more than a year, and I think the chords, like those, really work like a magic. So yeah, and there was constant support for this two buggers, like do this, do that. I mean, the way they like try to cope up with like by themselves. So they try to help me, but none of those ideas were working with me. And then after 1 or 2 days, I mean, suddenly I found like after 1 2 days, like wow, it's working now. Like suddenly it's like it just happened like that. So yeah, and
There
then
is
the
a,
fun. Actually, I started having.
yeah, sorry, go on, go on, go on, go on. I'm
No, no,
interrupting.
no.
Sorry, go on.
So then I started enjoying
Actually,
that. It took
okay.
me,
You go
yeah.
on. You go on.
So,
You are the man.
yeah,
Now I
what,
go on.
what you were
I
saying.
can probably see Shonai is fed up with Bodhisattva and Premjit. He's like,
Ha ha ha.
He's always
Where
fed
were you guys?
That's
Yeah,
a part
Where
of,
were
that's
you?
But
that's a
that's
part of
part
the
of
sound.
chemistry. That's
You
part
just
of the
said
sound.
it.
Yeah.
That's
yep,
part of the
yep,
sound.
yep.
Yeah. So basically, I remember in the initial days, like when Shonai joined, um, obviously, I mean, we were rehearsing at Bodhi's, and after the rehearsal, we would come out, and I was like curious to know if Shonai was enjoying himself. And every day after every session, I would just when we are walking out of the rehearsal, I would just poke him and say, "Kire, bhalaglo, what do you think?" What And I knew this because I know Shonai's background. I know how what kind of musical taste he has, and I know that he's a very like he's kind of a jazz puritan at that moment. At that point, he was playing with Carlton Keto Big Band. Carlton Keto Ensemble, and so I knew that it would not be interesting to him right in the beginning. It's not like this is my thing. This is what I want to do. And I think we all understood this without even saying, and we allowed him that time, and he also it
Adapted to
took
the.
it took some time, but I think he found his spot. And as he said, like the tours worked well because the chemistry of life was better during tours. So that kind of
I mean, it's always a mess, but still, it's always a mess traveling together. Yeah, but anyway, but that eventually worked.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's what it is actually. That's how it
yeah,
worked for me. Yeah.
Well, pretty interesting stories. I was watching the entire. I was probably stalking every social media handle this trio had, and I found out that you guys are working on an album, if I'm not wrong, right? Yep. So that's called the Lunar Month, and you previously have 3 albums. So would you take us through the journey of starting from the first album to the recent single Lunar Month, and how you're like adapting to structure different musical ideas into different chunks?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Thank you so much for this.
Yep,
So
yep.
our first album was not really an album; it was an EP where we were just trying out how the band works in a studio environment. So it was called Fuzzy Logic. There
Fuzzy
are
Logic.
4 songs. Yeah. And fortunately or unfortunately, I mean, as of now, looking back at it, it was so bad that I removed the whole thing from SoundCloud. But it was important. It's a very starting point in our career as a band. So that happened. And then after that, I think we kind of evolved a little bit. And what happened was the album called Intersections. That was our first album, which was recorded
Intersections.
live. So why I'm saying this is because that's the way we found that something clicked, something worked much better if we are in the moment, if we are recording everything live rather than overdubs and taking the drums first.
So random improvisation ideas.
Not random, but just capturing the energy of a band playing together kind of really worked for us, as opposed to a very pre-produced kind of sound, which is
I get it.
pop or rock or whatever. But this kind of a jazz sensibility. I'll use the word very carefully, mind you. Jazz sensibility, that everything's happening in the moment, so you capture the moment. So that kind of happened. But the sound, I felt it was there were a little bit of influences of jazz, but it was mostly a progressive rock album. After that, what happened was Heart of Darkness. So I went through a lot of bad times in my life in 2015. So Heart of Darkness is a kind of direct product of that. If you listen to the album, you'll find once again, it's recorded live. You'll find there's a lot of bad sounds, lo-fi things happening. A lot of experimentation.
It's like
on with
pointing towards something.
Yeah, like underproducing the whole thing. That kind of worked for us. Underproducing. So that kind of really worked in the context of the theme. That's when the band, became a little more, I would say, brain-oriented rather than muscle-oriented.
Wow.
That was a turning point, I think. So that was a turning point. We were happy with that. We were really exploring things. And so what happened after that was Bijit left and Shonai joined. So immediately, what happened as a result of this lineup change is that we had to lose the rock in our song. Because it was essentially a rock-oriented band. Whether it's progressive rock or it's jazz rock or whether it's experimental rock, the word rock was there. So moment you take out an electric bass and you put in a synth bass and a piano, you have to take that whole backbeat, that grounding, you have to take that out. So we were forced to kind of think in a different line, and we had to change our sound, thankfully for the better. And the influences of jazz became more obvious, and what became even more, relevant was the electronic side of things. Synth bass coupled with so Premjit had to change his approach while he was playing drums, because the drummer reacts in a certain way when you are coupled with an upright bass. He reacts in a certain way when he or she is given an electric bass guitar, and he will react in a different way when you're given a bass synthesizer.
Yes.
So that kind of brought out a very interesting drums and bass combination.
The tonality all over changed.
Yeah, so basically my job was to actually capitalize on the fact that, okay, this is going on with these two musicians. So now I have to think about my compositional aspects and what to write, what kind of threading to put and everything according to what these guys are comfortable. Because that's the trio, that's the sound. So again, so the band kind of became a little effects heavy. So instead of relying on distortion, I started playing personally much more cleaner. I rolled off most of my drives and distortion, took them out. So it was mostly like just clean guitar and a lot of effects, which is kind of meandering in between the drums and the synth bass and kind of around what Shonai is doing with his piano and his synthesizers.
It's a combination of clean, chorus, flanger, delay, and all of that.
Exactly, that kind of thing. And so that's how Grey Album happened, where we are actually trying to find the common ground and establishing this new sound that we have.
So, something changed, but one thing didn't change, that the volume on stage of a guitar, that never changed.
Well, if I'm playing clean, I have to be loud, man. It's not that I'm playing distortion. So what's your problem?
Fight. Please fight.
Yeah. So if I'm playing clean, that should be. These are.
I will name this episode Friday Night Fight.
and every sound he'll said no, today I'll play a little softer, and both Jute and myself will laugh like ha 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 ha. So there's a story for every stage.
Well, that happens, man. I mean, you haven't played with Stevie before, so you will not even know what volume. So exactly. So that happens, and what we are coming to, by the way, the name of the new album is not Lunar Month. We don't know what the name is. As of now, it's
Okay.
called Frontier. As of now, it's called Frontier. And Lunar Month is a part of that album.
Part of
And
the
so right
album.
now, yeah, so I think right now what has happened is that we have found ourselves. We are comfortable with each other and we are comfortable with who we are and what we are doing when we are sitting in the rehearsal room. So
Okay.
I think to this next album, we are all three of us are really looking forward to it. Apart from the fact that it's a collaboration, which we'll talk about, is that the three of us right now are really sounding together as a unit. And now I think it's the right time, the best time, and the perfect time to cut an album. Because
Uh,
right now, I think with the chemistry that we have and the understanding that we have, it's going to reflect, I think, justly on the music. I would say.
uh,
It'll do kind of
it's like
justice
the
to.
perfect like bullseye.
We hope so, but I think this is the right time.
Uh,
So that's the kind of arc of our discography.
wow.
And that
Interesting.
Shonai is not here.
Mm-hmm.
But that's always the case, you know. Shona is never in Kolkata, so we end up rehearsing once in 3 months, you know, and we do gigs like in Kolkata. I think we do 2 gigs or 3 gigs a year.
Max.
So, but you know, as you know, going back to the previous question, that's how this band is. Like we are really open to everything. We are really open to, you know, every situation that every member in this band is facing, and I think that's the beauty of the chemistry. That like when Shunai joined the band, he was pretty much in Kolkata. He had no plans of moving to Delhi, but then he moved to Delhi, and it was okay with us because we knew that we still want to, you know, do this together. Doesn't matter if you're rehearsing once every 3 months or maybe more sometimes. So yeah.
So that bond was there. It's like okay, if we like meet after 6 months, also we can do stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we are always in touch with each other some way or the other. We, you know, maybe Bodhi sent some ideas. Maybe, you know, if me and Bodhi is doing something together, we send him the ideas. He also, you know, sometimes sends some ideas. We're always working together, but we are like, you know, maybe meeting after 3 4 months, you know, and you know, try to make the best use of the time that we have together. A lot of times it is we organize tours to rehearse rather than to really do a gig.
Yeah, that's true actually. That's actually
That's
true.
that's
Yeah,
interesting.
That's actually true.
because yeah, so sometimes we are going to Delhi to play at Piano Man or you know do 2 3 gigs, but then essentially we are going because we wanted to you know meet up, do some new thing together, you know, work on something, and then you know just do a gig. And Shunai's family is here, so he keeps coming once in a while. Whenever he comes, then he ends up spending more time with the band than his family. So
That was a good thing, man. That was really good.
No, but it's true. It's actually what Premjit said is 100% true. That's how it works. That's it.
So I asked 3 questions, but before I ask that 3 questions, it's a rapid fire question kind of thing. But uh, when like you guys are like 4 years old, this setup, the Bodhisattva Trio, right?
Yes, that's right.
So
Right.
in 4 years, you've produced nearly to 4 albums,
no,
probably more than that.
No,
wait,
no,
the,
I'll correct you, Soporno.
Mhm.
yeah,
The age of the band is 10 years. We have just completed our 10th anniversary.
Okay, so what
This
was the 4 year stuff?
4 years
is
is
this
this
Shunai?
lineup with Shonai. Is this lineup?
Oh, okay, okay. That's why I was
Yeah.
thinking. I went to that gig, you know, Princeton,
Uh,
and then I thought that okay, no, this is the 10th,
yeah. So
4th.
4 years is 2018 to 2022 is the three of us that you're seeing on screen.
Oh wow, okay, okay.
Before
So
before
two
the before
dimensions in
that
there.
Yeah.
yeah, before that it was BG Tatai who played with us for 4 years, and before that it was Rohit who played with us.
Rohit.
So three transitions.
Yeah, me
Okay.
and Bodhi
Wow.
are still there together for the last 10 years.
Mhm.
Yeah, the third spot kept changing till now. I hope.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's interesting. like when did you guys start touring as a band? Like how did you thought that okay, there are people who would like to listen to this kind of music, you know, because honestly, in a country like India, we don't like obviously like we hear commercial music, we hear generic music, which is really obvious to us. If we hear a G major, C major, D major chord, we are happy. We don't want to hear A minor flat 13 and abstract stuff. So, how did you came up through this and like planned that okay, no, this band has to go somewhere. It has to be, we're doing stuff. It has to be. There has to be listeners. There has to be. This has to go somewhere. So, what was the entire thought process behind
Absolutely,
that?
absolutely. So I think Premjit, take it away because I'm going to be, I think, overtly bitter about this answer. So I think Premjit, if you can explain what you started thinking about from 2013. I think you started the.
No, but I think essentially, it's always about us. It's not about to whom we are catering to. I mean, if that was the case, then we wouldn't have made this band together.
Yes,
So it
yes,
was
exactly.
never it was never. I mean, the thought behind, going for a tour or playing to some other people was never like never to expand. I mean, primarily not to expand our audience, but primarily it was to have to explore how we perform, how we react to each other on a different venue or a different city, or
Oh,
so
okay.
more of that. I mean, yeah, I mean, our first tour was in Bangladesh, right, Bodhi?
Yes, our first. Even before India, it was actually Dhaka.
Yeah, the first
Yeah, exactly.
was in Dhaka. Yeah,
It was Dhaka
so
in 2013. Yeah, it was.
in 2013. Yeah, so that was just the band was like that's when Bijit joined for the
Yes,
first tour.
that's
That's
just after BG joined, we went to Dhaka.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, right.
So yeah, I mean, it was never about to really look around for more audience, or it was more of us trying to explore ourselves and just try and see how we do elsewhere. Bodhi, take it away.
Yeah, so that's what it was. And regarding touring the West, because what happened to me, there were two eye openers in my career prior to this. One was 2009 when I went with Tanmay Ghosh, Pandit Tanmay Ghosh, to play at San Jose, but that was a bongo somewhere. Okay, it was nothing special as far as the audience is concerned. What happened is I stayed back in California and I went to San Diego and met a lot of awesome musicians and explored the music scene over there. And I explored what level and like a basic drummer or basic guitar player, I mean the professional at least I'm talking about, at what level they're playing. That amazed me.
So different, amazing, different taste of
Yeah,
altogether.
exactly. That amazed me. Then what happened is in 2011 I went with Bumpy bass player, with his project to Europe, where we played around I think total of 12 shows in
Oh,
jazz clubs and stuff like that. There also I saw experience. What's not important is that I went there and played. What's important is that I met these players, saxophone players, drummers, bass players,
and
you
it's just a
name it,
beautiful
pianists.
experience altogether.
No, and the thing is that I was scared. I was scared. I was scared at the level that the music is happening and how serious
Yep,
they are. And not only that, that it is there's an infrastructure in the West which supports experimental music.
exactly,
There's
exactly,
an
exactly.
infrastructure, there's an ecosystem which supports this music. It is not like here that Bollywood or bust, Bangla band or bust. There's no middleman,
Ah, ah.
one or zero. There is no space in this country for people like us. For any kind of experimental music, there is no space. Even if you want to take a word like jazz, over
Oh
there
no, no, it's a
you
lesser
have
used word in this country.
you have government funded bodies like in Estonia. They have this Estonian Jazz Foundation,
Wow,
which are government sponsored, money paid for by the government, so that these people, they have a clan, they have a forum of jazz musicians who are going to come together, play music, and maybe this body or whatever, this uh, conservatory or whatever you want to call it, institute or whatever, they will pick and choose the musicians and send them abroad, outside the
wow.
country. So that
So it's
this
like a built
ecosystem,
infrastructure all there.
it is there. It is very much there, and that is a part of the society. So
Wow.
we decided that, I mean, if we are staying here, we are just, I mean, either we have to go to Bombay or we have to suck our thumbs. So that's not what we want to do. That's not who we are. That's not what this music stands for. So we decided, okay, we have to be in our own way, considering the fact that we are Majhat guys. Considering that fact, we have to somehow start somewhere so that we go into the bed and we are part of this bigger ecosystem.
Ah,
So
and
that's
that's
how this,
necessary to do. That's necessary to
yeah.
do.
So that's how this touring thing, this bug was there, that okay, we really cannot expect too much from this country, from this system that we are living in. So we have to venture out. We have to explore new things. We have to go there. We have to fail. We have to go there and fail again, and
And
keep
fail again,
doing and fail again to be
and then learn.
involved in this whole thing. So that's why I think touring internationally, working internationally. Like this time, we are not going there. Hopefully, we are going to Europe, not just to play gigs, but to record an album. Like,
Wow.
yeah, so with an orchestra from Croatia. So that's what we are kind of trying to do justice to the music that we are doing, and also to, I don't know. I mean, to do justice to ourselves as students of music. So that's what I think.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Exactly. I mean, like, you know, like there was, touring as a musician, like you get people uh, who are like far better than what you thought music would be. Far better means just they're just out of like what we thought as okay, maybe this is what my definition of music is, and then you go there and they're like, no, the definition is a bit larger, and then you go there and you're like, no, it's more larger. It's like a huge vocabulary which we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would use the word larger, but I would say that is real.
Ah,
That
good
is
word.
exactly
Yep.
what it is. There is no fakery or anything like that happening. You can't hide anything.
Everything has
Out
to be
there.
real.
Yeah,
It's
it's there.
again, it's again. I think we are talking about perspective. Like it's like
Perspective.
you can
Yeah.
you can be a whale in the pond, but you have to just go and check out the ocean to really
Ah,
start
ah.
believing that you are actually a whale, or
Yeah.
you. And it's basically, to me, it's more of a self-assessment in the whole ecosystem of the bigger picture. To really understand where you stand. And I am really thankful to Bodhi, and I'm really thankful to the band that this initially, obviously, it was Bodhi's push. He always, because he had toured internationally before that. I had traveled to Java Jazz
Java Jazz
Festival
Festival, exactly.
at
Exactly.
Los Amigos.
Mm.
That was also an eye opener to me. But I was just playing in the festival, so I was just playing a couple of gigs in the festival. Meeting a huge list of musicians who are like our idols. But I think what Bodhi did was that he played gigs in the scene, like small gigs in small jazz shacks or clubs or whatever, and he really got the experience of how it is there, and he wanted the band to experience that. And I think what is important is not the failing or succeeding, but to really experience that, and you learn in that process. And I'm
Ah,
sure the band did really learn in the process, because
yeah.
every time we went, uh, as we were just speaking about perspective, our perspective changed. It started
Hmm.
growing. What we thought was abstract was not abstract anymore the next time, because we knew what to expect. We knew that, okay, this is something which is abstract to us because we haven't seen this before.
Ah,
But
exactly.
that's not the case. That's not the case. It's just that because we are considering ourselves a whale in the pond, and that's why this creature is a super whale. But maybe I am just a bloody little fish, and that is a whale. You need to really go out there
So
and
yeah, so you like when you go into a pool of whales, you understand, no, 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 no. There are actually many whales,
exactly,
and
exactly,
that doesn't
exactly,
become abstract anymore.
exactly.
Okay.
So that's it. That's the system. That is the norm. I mean, it's too bad if people don't get that. It's too bad.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's not
Exactly.
our problem.
That's a really interesting thing because honestly, like if you leave music for 1 minute also, like we can think of any creative genres. It's not appreciated in this country. Like whatever it is, you can't sing, can't paint, can't dance, and make a career out of it. Yes, it's just infrastructure is not just present.
No,
And I would say
I think it's also a lot to do with the openness of just giving yourself an experience of just going there and without any preconceived notions and being in that moment and being open to experience something that you haven't experienced before. It could be
so.
good, it could be
Going as a nomad.
yeah, but it is something new. I mean, here, let's say, if in music, people go to gigs to sing along, so they expect people to, perform or, play music that they already know. No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think in the West, people are a little bit more open towards the idea of just going there and having a good time. And just they are kind of more open to hear new things, experience new ideas, and maybe after that they could come back and say, okay, this was good or this was bad. But people here are afraid of experiencing something which is new.
At the first place.
Yeah, so they don't know if they are missing something good or bad. They are only going to gigs where they can sing along, which is okay, but it doesn't push the whole ecosystem for the better, I guess.
It reminds me of a gig I went to. It was probably the NH7 weekend in Kolkata that happened. So Poets of the Fall came. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And what happened was there were bands like, some with the, as we keep searching, Pentagram, Switchfoot, and all of those guys came. Like it was fun watching all of those. But at last, Poets of the Fall went up. Till then, I was kind of sad to see that no one actually, like a few people were in the front when As We Keep Searching and all of those bands were up on stage. And each and every band, I love all of those bands, right? Poets of the Fall sang 3 songs like Cradle to Love and some other songs. And of course, we all know what's their one of the most greatest songs they have. Also one of the most famous songs, Carnival of Rust, and that song came at the last. And suddenly, all the people who were drunk and some are having sex over there, some are like vomiting relentlessly over there, all got up and went to the front. And in a moment of seconds, I was like watching, like I was just like, I'm just I'm just pashe ki holo lokjon. Faka, like everyone was in the front for that one song. So entirely in a 4 to 5 hour gig, you only went to hear one song, and rest of the 4 hours you just drank 500 beers and just were vomiting. I was like, oh my god, what the fuck? Like Poets of the Fall, if this Poets of the Fall gets to know this, that only one song was actually given importance by this audience they performed to in Kolkata, they would be like, I have to think next time when I tour to India, especially.
No,
Honestly.
it's not like I'm pretty sure they're used to it, and this is something which happens throughout the world. So that's the way it is.
Exactly.
That's the way it works.
Yep, exactly. So till now, how many tours internationally, or even if you count everything, national to international, have this setup done together?
I don't know.
That's the most appropriate answer I was thinking of.
I really don't know. I've lost track.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, internationally, I think we can think
8 or 9, I think.
Yeah.
We have to count.
So I've toured on only Europe and like in other areas as well.
No, we have gone to Bangladesh a few times, and 2019 we also ended up going to Kuala Lumpur, to Malaysia.
Malaysia, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So a lot of tours. Like if you sum it up, national, international, it's like a century apart, right?
I mean, yeah, we've been busy, like in that way. We've been active, basically. It's just
Active. Yep.
yeah.
Exactly. Probably last 2 questions for all of you. From all of your perspectives, what's the future of the music industry in every perspective possible?
Shonai has been quiet for quite some time. Please, Shonai, please give us your thoughts on this.
It's really difficult to predict something like this. But like I don't know, we can think of something like I want to say this actually. For a few places, okay, well, for a few places, I think they'll remain same, hearing the same music, same expectation will be there. Where the other places in the country, in the country itself, will are like I can see that they are going ahead. They're accepting new music, accepting uh, like, unknown songs and like accepting unknown music. And whether they like it or not, that's different. But they're accepting, and at the same time, some places are like still stuck to their own old school, like repertoire. So it's like it's a mixed thing. You cannot just really where it's going. But definitely there are more originals are coming up and more experimentation has been done. There people are doing that. People are taking risks. The artists are taking risks. Always all over the world and in this country as well. So yeah, I hope that people will continue this and something more like experimental music, original music will come up and really change. Uh, so yeah, that's what I think. It is my expectation. And more acceptance from the audience perspective, more acceptance will be there. They will be more aware and okay, they'll so there's a word called global citizenship. You don't it doesn't mean that you have to travel globally. You can be in a home and you can still be a global citizen. So that awareness has to be there. So I hope if you develop that and become a global citizen and come out of this, that um, yeah, small room, they expand themselves. So that's my expectation.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so I basically completely agree with the line of thought that Chonai has said. My personal expectation, or rather, I would say, a wish and something that I see as problematic in the music system today. That because live is cool. I mean, there are enough festivals, enough gigs in pockets. Music has become very personalized. Everything has become accessible. That's all cool. That's great. I have no complaints with live gigs and whatever happens. Be it 15,000 people or be it 50 people. Doesn't matter. Everybody can survive. What my problem is with the recording industry. Bring back something which is relevant as relevant as cassettes, CDs, and LPs. Spotify and Apple Music and all this is not happening. This is a way to kill us. This is a way to destroy musicians. So that I have a serious problem with that. I hope that's going to change.
Like we get reminded about those free school street records and all of that stuff. That's the only hub we all get physical. And there's a value, there's a charm to getting physical EPs and physical albums.
Not just charm. It's a way. It's a we are supposed to pay our electricity bill from our record.
Yes.
We cannot do that. So that needs to change. We spend lakhs and thousands of rupees or thousands of dollars and euros for a recording, and all we get is one click
0.00001 cents per stream.
That's it. How does that? Is that even an equation? How is that an ecosystem? It is nowhere close to the ecosystem. You break even. If I spend like dollars for an album, I should get back at least $5,000 from revenue from streaming or from album sales.
That doesn't happen.
It's not there. So that's a problem. That's a huge problem.
So everything has a pro and con to it. From the digital space, if you see, people can sit there at their homes, record. Like we have all of these new generation of bedroom musicians who can record and just upload an EP within a day if they can, if they want to. They have focus
that is
right.
that's great, but that is unfair to us. Unfair to people who go into the studio and use analog compressors and use like $10,000 microphones and capture the sound of a bass drum. That's unfair to us, right?
Exactly.
That's unfair to us. That's unfair to professionals. It's like saying that I can practice, I can become a surgeon by just doing pre-med school. I don't have to do MBBS, I don't have to do MD, but I can still do surgery.
Now, you will become a surgeon, but what will be after the effect, that is questionable.
It is as ridiculous as that.
Exactly.
What happened to production value? What happened to the fact that David Gilmour used 10 amps to capture one guitar tone? What happened to that?
They just become redundant in just a few years.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yep.
That's
I agree. I agree very much. Yep. I think Premjit has to add.
I think, just to add, I mean, obviously, I agree to both their line of thoughts. And I would just like to look back at history, like, just think of people maybe 150 years back. What did they do? They didn't have records, they didn't have anything. What did they do to listen to music? What do you think they did?
They have all of those small
and they went to
stuff,
concerts.
And they have those gramophone stuff. They used to bring that. I still have all of those pasted over there. Those are the old.
Yeah. What about before that?
Yeah, they went to concerts. They went to concert halls.
Yeah, that was the thing, and there was no hardware or Spotify to listen and stream 5,000 artists.
I mean, the only way you could listen to music is either you attend a concert, you pay the tickets or pay whatever system, barter system, whatever it is, or you play yourself.
Yeah,
and that's how it worked in the West. I mean, if you look at 200 years back, if people had to listen to music, they had to play, or they had to go for a concert.
Options.
These are the two options, and I think these two options can save the ecosystem. And I hope this comes back. Everything publishing music should stop. People have to come for live concerts to experience music if they have to, or else you start playing music yourself.
That's as good as it gets. I absolutely agree. No issues. Absolutely. I mean, yep. Like, with development comes pathetic situations, of course. So, last
And
question.
with pathetic situations, development happens.
So it's an inverse proportion.
Absolutely. You will always find a lily in a muddy water.
So, and without muddy water, lilies can't form.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Probably a small line I would like to hear from each one of you. A single line. Any tips for musicians? Doesn't matter if what instruments they play, if they sing or dance or whatever it is. One line, each of you.
Okay, let me start. I would say just be. That's it.
Bodhisattva.
Yeah, exactly. Just be. Music is bigger than you, but it is not bigger than life. Have patience, everything will fall into place.
Exactly.
Shonai.
I didn't get the question.
Oh, any tips and advice for musicians in just one line?
That's a great tip, by the way. That's a great tip for all musicians.
Yeah, I didn't get the question.
I didn't get the question. What was it?
That was great. Okay, you have answered. Shonai, they have answered.
Okay,
you already answered.
No, you have to say it, man. Come on.
Oh.
I think keep on thinking. I think thinking is something like important for every even non-musician. Every thing has to be self-realization and thinking. These are the two words I
Oh, interesting. Probably one last question again. What was okay? So this are three rapid fire questions. Uh, what was the best gig played as a setup till now? And it's really hard to answer right now because there's no one best gig. There are just lines of best gigs. What was the worst? And what was the first?
No, I don't understand the question. What was the first what?
First gig you got and played as a setup, the Bodhisattwa Trio. What was the experience? And Oliver, second part to that question was what was the best gig? And third was what was the worst gig?
Okay, best and worst, I don't know, but first gig was definitely the Jimi Hendrix tribute concert in November 2011. That was the thing.
First,
Worst, I don't know. I don't think we have had a worst gig per se. Best gig also is very difficult, but I think I hold Fest Jazza, Jazz Festival in Croatia that we played in 2019. That was, I would say, everything worked for us. That was a very special night. Premjit, Shonai.
Yep.
The first gig the band has played together, the answer has to be same for all three of us, unfortunately, for being so boring. But it's maybe it might change for Shonai, but then
It will change for sure, obviously.
For me again, it was the Jimi Hendrix tribute night. That was the first gig. The best gig, obviously Fez Jazza was great. I also think Blue Note in Poznan also quite a very good night for us in Poznan Blue Note. Yeah, and the worst gig, I don't know. It's difficult.
It's figuring out.
Maybe I was not playing that gig. You know, I mean,
then it never happened. Then the gig never happened. If you're not,
no, it has happened. The band has played without me. Maybe
twice.
And there we have it. That's as simple as it is.
No. Let's see what the drummer who played the gig has to say about this. Let me contact him.
No, but Gabu is a savior. Gabu played those gigs. Both the times I was sick, I could not play, and one was in our
some places.
Yeah. And I got dengue that night, and I had to be hospitalized. So Gabu saved us in 24, not even 24 hours, in 12 hours time. Gabu just picked up the songs and played, and it was the worst gig ever for the band. Go on, Shuna. Sorry, I'm kidding.
Yep, Shonai.
to be very honest, I can't remember which one was the first gig.
Which one was the first gig?
You don't remember? Wow. It was Phoenix. I'll tell you what. It was Phoenix. It was Astor Hotel in Calcutta. That was your first gig with us. Yeah.
And the reason why he doesn't remember is because every gig is the worst gig for him.
Initially it was, yes. I don't deny this. Initially it was, yeah. So yeah.
But the best gig Kamal.
Best gig I think Jazza only. And Blue Note, I'm not sure, but Blue Notes, yes, Blue Notes I still remember. But there was another gig which I can't remember when it was. I was like I had to. Bodhi had to call me. I was stuck in the room.
This was in Maribor Festival Red. Yeah, of course. This was in Slovenia. This was in Slovenia. Yeah.
What
Festival Lent.
Festival Maribor.
Lent Festival.
Yeah,
Lent Festival. Right. That was really good.
Yeah, that was a good gig.
Yeah. But that was the worst gig for us because we were on stage and
anyway, can we
all two of us.
He's saying, can we skip that?
No, this is a very interesting story. The story is that the organizer of the festival is calling us backstage. Let me complete this. He's calling us backstage. Me and
No,
Premjit
but
are there.
this was not
No,
our
so
duty in
we
the
got
first place.
3 rooms. If the festival organized
Yeah.
3 rooms for us, so we had like this luxurious
Okay.
hotel, and each one
I'll
had
see you
one.
guys.
No, and
I'll see you guys.
the organizer was
I had a
saying that,
wonderful time.
asking, guys, where is your pianist? And we looked at each other and said, yeah, really, where is our pianist?
And then we ran back to the hotel because he was not picking up his hotel phone. Thankfully, the hotel was just a 3 minute, 4 minute from the amphitheater. So we ran back. We banged his door, and he was just all groggy, and he just woke up and he was sleeping in his room. I was not like, and it was like a festival, and man,
And we don't know where our pianist is. Oh my god. So that's the reason why they were saying, can we skip this? Can we can we Oh my god.
Anyway, so that's it.
Wow. Pretty inspiring. Yep. That's probably all I had to filter and ask all you three.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
to all of you for taking some time out to do this. Like from the bottom of my heart, like Bodhisattva Trio has been an inspiration for me as well. So, yep, that pretty much sums up everything. For the audience, I'm saying like they don't need an introduction already. I would. That's my duty to actually keep all of the links to everything they have, from social media to Bandcamp to everything, and the description. Please do check their music out. And one last thing: how long for the next album do we have to wait?
I think 2023 by summer we'll have to release it. We'll have to.
Okay.
We don't have a choice. We'll have to release it.
Have to. Okay, so that's a deadline.
Have to. Deadline April or May maximum.
Okay. So we'll be waiting. And yep, once more, thank you so much for all joining in. Have a great night and a great weekend. Thank you so much.
thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much
Bye-bye.
from the bottom of my heart. Bye bye.
Bye bye.